You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and that trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, buy some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan. And I think I've calmed down a little bit since the last podcast. I think that may have been the most amped up that I've been on any podcast so far. Just amped up in frustration-wise. But maybe I can get revved up once again, because the first subject I'm gonna get into is maybe kind of circling back into one of the subjects that I was talking about on the last podcast. So can I get a menu, and let's just get that first subject out of the way here. And it kind of included what I was talking about when talking about the whole Jarius Byrd thing, the whole comparison with the shifting around the safety, the entire secondary this offseason. And I just didn't mention the year that happened, and I kind of left that out. And that was the 2014 offseason, and the season before was obviously the 2013 season. And the reason I bring that up was that defense was really, really good in that season. I think they were ranked like number 5. I don't know if I think maybe that was like in points allowed or yards or something like that. And they were really good. I think the defensive coordinator that year was Rob Ryan, and I think Dennis Allen may have been here as well. I think he was maybe a protege or something, or maybe an assistant defensive coordinator or something like that, or maybe he was the secondary coach or something. So he may have been here as well, or maybe he was with the Raiders. But anyways, Rob Ryan was the defensive coordinator. I think that was his first year, but they were like the 5th ranked defense, and everyone was like, oh, the Saints have a defense for the first time and like forever, and they have an offense, and so that they were great, and they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round. And of course, the only reason they lost the game to Seattle is because of a Mark Ingram fumble. And of course, Seattle was so great that year that they actually went on to win the Super Bowl. But the thing that I wanted to get into about that is the off-season hype behind that team leading into the season. Is, if you remember that season, that off-season, after they signed Jarius Byrd, everyone was jumping on that bandwagon for the Saints. Everyone was talking about, well, they just signed like the marquee free agent in the offseason. Like they were already the 5th ranked defense. Like they're going to have the best defense in the league. Drew Brees and the Saints offense is they're going to obviously be really good, probably the best offense in the league, just like they've always been. And people were, if you remember, like power rankings and things like that, they were like ranked top 5, usually 1 or 2. Like everyone was jumping on their bandwagon saying like, oh, they're Super Bowl or bust. and kind of like just this kind of similar to this off season, not as much because obviously Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton were going to be your quarterback, but kind of a little bit towards the very start of this uh, season, like Pete Prescott and Peter King, right there towards just the beginning of the season. I think even Dan Orlovsky said that, oh, the Saints are going to win the division. The Buccaneers aren't going to win the division. A lot of people just before the season started were jumping on this bandwagon. And a lot of people obviously said, oh, the Saints definitely, maybe not saying that they were going to be the Super Bowl contender or win the NFC, uh, win the conference or anything like that. But they definitely were saying, oh, the Saints are going to have the best defense in the league. Well, after shifting the whole secondary around, completely shifting the whole secondary around, other besides Paulson Adebo, who looks like he's having a sophomore slump, and obviously Marshawn Lynch, which you can't really help that he's injured right now. They've completely flopped that around. Obviously, the defense is not the best in the league. I think I saw something that they're ranked like 27th right now. They're almost one of the worst defenses right now. And just like in that 2014 season, that's when all of that 2014 to 2016, they were like historically bad during that during that stretch. They were like one of the worst ever in giving up yards and points. So it's like flashbacks now to that season. There's so much comparisons to they, they had so much hype behind them during that 13 to 14 season, and they're very similar to this from that 21 to 22 season, and now they're just it's so they switched the secondary around and they had the hype, and now they're awful. They're awful. Their defense is garbage, and I mean their offense has been good enough for them to win, but it's the defense that's letting them down. But like I said, I said that's what's getting me amped up is talking about that. But I think I've hammered that home enough. But moving on to the next thing, I wanted to talk about. So I guess this happened a couple of days ago. I think this may have happened on Monday. Deontay Hardy restructured his contract, which I thought this was very strange, seeing how it seemed like he kind of the Saints and maybe we're having kind of issues in the franchise and kind of between the front office and him. I think he kind of wanted a new contract, didn't get it. He just got the tender and he signed it in off season. And some fans, a lot of fans out there saying he wasn't playing full speed, wasn't playing with any heart. So, but he actually restructured his contract, creating $1.739 million in cap space, which seems really odd, seeing how he has the supposedly what they were saying a severe case of turf toe, which that's odd that he did that. And I guess showing good faith in the organization that he will possibly get a new contract with them, even though I think even with doing that, he'll still be an unrestricted free agent after this team. But it looks like Rashid Shaheed, with what he did last week against the Bengals, may have already sealed Deontay Hardy's fate and taken his job. But more to this point, what has this done here? Does this open up the possibility for a trade? Because that opens cap space for a little bit of movement for the Saints. Because I think it's funny when something like this happens, because the Chiefs did something very similar to this with Travis Kelce's contract, and when the Chiefs did it, the mainstream media and other podcasters and things like that, the news sources, outlets, and things like that, they went crazy about it. You know, you heard all of them saying like, "Oh, are they going to trade for Odell Beckham? Are they going to trade for Christian McCaffrey? Are they going to trade for Saquon Barkley?" Which I can't even understand why the Giants would trade Saquon Barkley when they're like 5-1. So I don't even know why his name even comes up. But when the Saints do basically the same thing, no, there's not a peep. I guess that's because they're not haven't been very good right now. But I think that's just funny. But anyways, so the Saints have a little do this and make a little bit of wiggle room to possibly make a trade of their own. So who would they possibly do a trade for? That's very interesting. Um, the only three people that really come to my mind would possibly be the main one that I would be interested in would be Ndamukong Suh. And the reason I mention his name is because the defense has been so bad, and you see that definitely on the defensive line. They get really no push in the pass rush in the middle, and that definitely showed up against the Bengals, especially on that one play when they had the Bengals and Joe Burrow in a 3rd and 8 there in the red zone, and they had the pocket collapse from the outside, and Joe Burrow was able to scramble out of there and pick up 16 yards and a touchdown because there was no interior push at all. And I think if you have someone like Ndamukong Suh in there, something like that might not happen because players like Shy Tuttle, Malcolm Roach, and David Onyemata has been a real disappointment. I think I was hearing people in the off season or maybe the year before that saying, "Oh, they need to re-sign David Onyemata to a new contract." And I was thinking to myself, I don't think you need to re-sign a defensive tackle that's been, I think, just kind of slightly above average, not a great player, definitely not a blue chip player that's 29, almost 30 years old. And thankfully they didn't do that because now he's showing that he's definitely not a high profile player. Like he has only had like one good season where he had like, I don't know, like can't remember how many sacks he had, but he's never had like 8, 10 sacks. He never even had as good of a season as Sheldon Rankins did. When Sheldon Rankins had like 8 sacks, was having that great season in 2018 when he tore his Achilles. Like he never even had a good a season as Sheldon Rankins did before he started having all those injury problems. So I thought that was crazy when there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, we need to sign him to a big deal before he has double-digit sacks and is going to want a $15 million per year season," because he's definitely shown that he's not that guy. I think now that he's not on the PEDs that he's gotten popped for, that he's doesn't look like the same guy anymore. But possibly another guy that the Saints could look to is maybe Odell Beckham. I think that name has come up a few times. We kind of talked about that, but I think he's got a lot of suitors out there, and I think the obvious reason for that is just because the Saints are decimated at the wide receiver position, and I think it's pretty clear as to why they would need him. And just mentioning the two of the main receivers that are hurt there, it's Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, and I think it's really kind of funny how mostly Michael Thomas gets a lot of the hate for how he's hurt and hasn't been coming back from his toe injury, you know, but uh, and that he's not wanting to come back and play through that. But I don't know why Jarvis Landry doesn't get just as much hate as well, because he hasn't been that uh, healthy of a player either. I guess it's probably because he's an ex LSU player, but he's not been any healthier. He's only played in like just uh, one more game than Michael Thomas. So he should catch just as many stray bullets as Michael Thomas has if you're going to throw strays out there. Uh, so I think that should be said about the injuries to the wide receivers. And then the third player, and this kind of goes back to the tight ends, and this was one that I thought could maybe happen anyways, just because of the lack of depth at tight end, and maybe this is probably good that it didn't happen, because this was just fanboy kind of oh, we want to relive the past, and this kind of has shown that it didn't work out, because everyone wanted Jarvis Landry, everyone wanted Tyrann Mathieu, everyone wanted all those players, everyone wanted Mark Ingram. That was obviously last year, but now that Adam Troutman has went down and had his ankle injury, luckily it doesn't seem to be season ending. I think when a lot of people saw it originally, they thought it was an Achilles injury, but maybe even though he's not a blocker, which I think that's what Adam Troutman was best at, but because the Saints are missing so many receiving threats, maybe Jimmy Graham, maybe Jimmy Graham, that would be fun if nothing else. Seeing how this season hasn't been very fun, I think it would maybe be fun at least, and make the season uh, somewhat enjoyable, more enjoyable than it has been. Those are my three trade possibilities, with the little bit of money that they opened up for some apparent reason. So Ndamukong Suh, Odo Beckham, which I guess there's that constant Odell Beckham watch, and maybe Jimmy Graham. So then on to the injury report, and then it's Thursday. It's already, or no, it's Wednesday. It's already been reported that Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Andreas Pete, Adam Troutman, and Marshawn Lattimore. They're out of this game. It's already been reported. They're out. So, and like I was saying, Michael Thomas is catching a lot of strays and hate, saying that he doesn't want to play. He's soft. Well, Jarvis Landry, I think he should get just as much of that hate, because he shouldn't just single out Michael Thomas, because Jarvis Landry, he had just as many injury problems and just as injury prone when he was in Cleveland, and he's showing that has just as much of a problem here as now that he's a Saint. And he only had really the one good game when he went against the Falcons. So if you're gonna spew hate and spew stray bullets at Michael Thomas, then I think Jarvis Landry should get that too. So he's out, and Michael Thomas are out. But the only good news from any of that I'm hearing was already mentioned, that doesn't look like Adam Troutman's ankle injury was an Achilles. It doesn't look like it's season ending. And also same with Andreas Pete. Looked like when we first saw that looked like his pec. He tore his pec again, which that's what he was out for most of the season last year. But now we're read up that it's just a pec strain, which, he's been pretty injury prone since he signed his big deal a couple of years ago. But thankfully it's not torn again. It looks like it's just a pec strain, and they say that he's week to week, whatever that means. But at least once again, he's not out for the season, which that's what's been very odd about this season. They're very beat up, but you know, knock on wood, none of the injuries have been really season ending. They've just all been annoying, nagging injuries. But I'll go through the rest of these injuries and go through the Cardinals' injuries now. So then Keith Kirkwood, who's actually been a bit of a surprise, he's always been pretty talented for the Saints, and then went to the Carolina Panthers, and he made a big catch, I think, on third down for the Saints against the Bengals. And oh, what do you know? He's hurt now. He didn't practice on Monday and Tuesday. I don't have the full report for Wednesday yet, but he didn't practice on Tuesday and Wednesday. Mark Ingram's been limited all week so far. Paulson Adebo's been limited all week so far. Marcus May has been limited and then was full on Tuesday. Ryan Ramchek's been limited all week, but it was just for rest. Calvin Throckmorton limited all week. Peyton Turner limited all week, but he's finally back after not practicing and being out like the last 2 weeks. Jameis Winston limited all week, and Andy Dalton limited all week. So, and he's got, what do you know? He's got a back injury now. And from what I'm hearing, the quarterback situation, who's going to start, is going to be a game time decision. So that should be exciting. And looks like for the first time, we're playing a team that is looks to be just as injured as the Saints. So maybe the Saints will. I don't know if that's catching a break or not. If they end up losing, that'll be even more embarrassing and disappointing, because they actually are playing a team of equals, I guess, and equal disappointing, because they're only 2-4, and there's whispers of their head coach underperforming and possibly getting fired. So this is really an equal matchup. The only thing that really makes this not a equal matchup is probably that it should be considered that their quarterback is more talented, and that the Saints are playing on the road on a short week on Thursday night. But Marquise Brown is he's probably out of this game, because I think he may have broke his foot or hurt his foot pretty bad. He didn't practice all week so far through Tuesday. James Conner didn't practice all week. Dennis Gardeck didn't practice all week. Rodney Hudson didn't practice all week. Matt Prater didn't practice all week. Justin Pugh, I think he has some pretty serious knee injury or something, so he didn't practice all week. Jalen Thompson didn't practice on Monday, but was limited on Tuesday. Darrell Williams didn't practice all week. Eno Benjamin was limited all week. Zaven Collins was limited all week. Michael Dogby limited all week. Trayvon Mullins limited all week, and Rashad Lawrence limited all week. So those are that injury report's almost identical to the Saints in length, and didn't practice and limited and full. Like you could almost stencil that over each other, translucent that over each other, and they would match up almost perfectly. So obviously not happy about that, but at least the Saints kind of catch a break and meet up with a team that's almost just as banged up as them. So the Saints really have no excuse when it comes to injuries when playing this team, because they're playing a team that's just as injured as them. And that's kind of what I want to get into on this next topic here, and that is the Eagles fans, and they, I don't really like calling other fan bases trash or bad names or anything, but they are definitely not classy when it comes to their happiness and their joy when I see them on Twitter posts or on Facebook posts or anything like that, because I see them in these posts or in any type of thing that is about the Saints and that's negative about the Saints. And I saw them recently, like in injury reports about the Saints, and they seem so happy about that the Saints have injured players. And obviously, the reason that they're happy is because they get the Saints' first round pick in next year's draft, and they're happy that the Saints have players like Andres Pete are hurt, and that is just garbage, trash, classless, you know. So Eagles fans, they're trash, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised by this because they threw rocks, snowballs with rocks at Santa Claus. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised by this, but I really don't understand this because I mean the Saints they didn't get they're not getting it's not as if they're getting the first round pick for free. Like I guess they should understand that we the first round pick they gave us is Chris Olave, who if he stays healthy is stays healthy after this concussion is probably going to be the rookie offensive player of the year. So it's not like the Saints didn't get nothing for it. I guess maybe they don't really care about that because they have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, but it's just they're delusional. They're high off their own supply right now, I guess, because they're 6-0. But I can't stand the trolls that can't stay off of Saints post and injury reports. But that's enough of them. So, anyways, on to my hot takes and score for this Arizona Cardinals game. So, my hot takes maybe not really that great of a hot take. Maybe more of a obvious hot take, but maybe I have a bonus that maybe no one could really probably doesn't seem very likely. But the first hot take, and this is the one I may be more banking on, is I think Olave is going to come back and have a big game. I think Olave is going to come back, and I think he's going to have 100-yard game, and 2 touchdowns. I think maybe he'll have maybe a game similar to what Justin Jefferson had against us in the Vikings game in London. And then I think this is maybe a bonus here, and this is just because the Saints need the help, and they need help wherever they can get it in the pass rush. And now that he's healthy, finally healthy, and he hasn't played a lot, Peyton Turner, and this is if he actually plays because he's just been limited. I think when the injury report actually comes out today, he'll probably be listed as questionable, so that doesn't mean that he'll actually play. So Peyton Turner, I think Peyton Turner is going to do something. I think he'll maybe get a sack, hopefully, because so far a lot of people probably say that he's a bust, but he's a first-round pick. So even if he doesn't have a good season this year, you can't give up on a first-round pick just after 2 seasons, because I think a lot of people would have wanted to do that with Cesar Ruiz, but it's arguable. You could argue that he's been the Saints' best offensive lineman so far this year. He's definitely been probably the best run blocker this year. There have been a lot of big runs behind Cesar Ruiz, so you can't give up on a first-round pick just after 2 years. So maybe Peyton Turner's the spark that they maybe need on the defensive line. Maybe they can move him inside or something to get some more push or pressure inside, maybe with that NASCAR package or something. The reason he can't develop or anything is he hasn't stayed healthy. He needs some reps. So maybe the bonus for my hot take is Peyton Turner. And then for my score, I didn't pick the Saints last week again against the Bengals, but probably not very wise to pick the Saints in this game either, because it's on a short week. They're banged up. It's a Thursday night game on the road, but I just got a feeling in this game for some reason. The Cardinals aren't very good. They're banged up too. There's whispers about their head coach. So I think the Saints are going to win this one and make us feel at least that they're going to get back on track. And I'm thinking they're going to win 27-20. And yeah, I think they're going to win. So with that, I got a who dat, and can I get a check, please?